Greetings historians, welcome to Lore of the Dragon. Today I'm going to go back to a video I made on the channel a few weeks ago. For those who don't know, the video I'm referring to covers the Winter Guardian Spyro skin, and how I think it can loosely play into Spyro's lore. However, I was told from multiple individuals that perhaps bringing up just one seasonal power-up might not have been delving far enough into the topic. So, today's video will be talking more in depth of the potential and some of the ideas surrounding the existence of power-ups such as the Winter Guardian ability. Now, I'm going to start off with what we know so far about the Winter Guardian skin, and briefly go over what was discussed in the video covering the ability itself. Then when that's over, I'll be using that as a base to create other variants of this skin, and perhaps come up with reasons for their own existence. Also, this video is going to be more just ideas, not so much lore. So if you're into speculation, hopefully this video should suffice. However, don't worry, there's going to be a new lore video coming up pretty soon. A rather large one is that. First, there isn't really much to say on the Winter Guardian skin, as it only appears in Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled as a cosmetic option, with nothing else really to it. However, beyond that lies what was speculated in the last video, which was that the Winter Guardian status, or ability, was gifted to Spyro. And I said that it could have been gifted by a deer, which in this case would have been an elder status among the fawns of Avalar, and somewhat derived from mythology. When that video was posted, I got a comment talking about not only the backstory of the skin, if it were ever to be brought into Spyro, but the abilities that came with it. In summary, a user by the name of Steven says that an ability that could be unique to the Winter Guardian power-up could be the ability to freeze water, create platforms, and freeze enemies for a longer duration. Quite honestly, this covers most of what it could do, other than the possibility of ice-based attacks outside of the breath. For instance, you could modify the charge attack or even the head bash attack to give an ice-related effect to whatever just so happened to be in Spyro's path. That about does it for the Winter Guardian ability. Now let's move on to the others. Of course, since we have Winter, 3 more abilities are going to be covered, starting with Spring. This ability could be called something along the lines of Springbringer, which could be a way to introduce the Earth element, or even you could switch that for the Life element from Skylanders back into the modern Spyro canon. As is with the Winter Guardian skin would be first, of course, you have the season it represents, and something that's tied to that season in particular. Doing some research, spring in nature is about bringing forth new life, or rather creation. While the Winter Guardian ability might have something similar, the Springbringer ability might be better suited toward creating a platform, or making something for Spyro to traverse. Perhaps when compared to Winter Guardian, Springbringer's ability to create platforms lasts longer, or maybe even is indefinite, as ice isn't necessarily the most sturdy material to make a bridge out of, at least when it comes to non-freezing areas. In design, I imagine Springbringer would have what most people put together with spring, a bright color palette, perhaps even blooming flowers, though you can debate that last one in the comments. Now, for abilities, to go with creation, I see the ability to be able to create plant-based platforms, much like I was mentioning earlier. Perhaps even bridges made of vines to traverse large gaps that Spyro can glide over. And as an attack, Springbringer could have the ability to spread vines on the ground, which could attack multiple enemies at once, with a larger radius than a normal breath attack. Summer is something I've thought about for a bit, and it's something I personally think would be pretty neat. I'd like to introduce the idea of Summer Phoenix. As the name would imply, for those who know what a phoenix is, it would have to do with fire, and of course, its appearance would take inspiration from the mythical creature known as the phoenix. A bird that, upon death, could rise again through resurrection. Summer Phoenix would do something similar. If Sparks was eliminated and Spyro was hit, Spyro would of course go through his death animation, but only moments later would burst into flames and would be revived. When this happened, Spyro's fire abilities would be enhanced drastically, and perhaps he could be immune to fire. Now, outside of Summer Phoenix's main ability to revive Spyro, I believe that outside of that it could just be Super Flame, or just a charged up fire attack. Now when it comes to the fall, I've come up with something called Autumn Warlock, which would seem to harness the poison element. This one would be based on the withering away of leaves during the fall season, with the abilities being reflective of this. Of course, your basic breath attack would be replaced by a poison attack of some kind. Something similar to how the poison ball was in Reignited, or for the Legends fans, it could actually pull inspiration from the Legend of Spyro trilogy, mainly with Cinder's ability and the poison element. This attack would come in the form of a poison ball. When this ball hit the ground, it would of course spread, and perhaps a lingering effect on the ground would last for a few seconds, harming any enemy that came within its range. However, when Spyro would step over it, it would do nothing, of course. Now when it comes to its appearance, of course, like I said, it would be based off of the withering of leaves, so perhaps something a bit spooky. When it comes to how exactly these forms could be obtained, perhaps it could be that Spyro finds creatures in the next game, adept at each element, and the ability is something given to Spyro to protect the land or fight off whatever threat is in the next game. In the case of Springbringer, perhaps it could be that the land he achieves the power from is a land of monks that are gifted in the earth element, or the life element, whichever one you prefer. Maybe in this land, whatever threat plagues the next game is already passed, and has already wreaked havoc. When Spyro arrives, it is declared that he's the only one who can repair the damage, and with his magic connection, Spyro is gifted with Springbringer, so that he can help repair the damage that's been done. Summer Phoenix could be given to Spyro in a land that's currently being attacked by whatever threats in the next game. The inhabitants of the world Spyro visits, which could be warriors in this case, would use a magical object to give Spyro the power of the Summer Phoenix. Perhaps it could even be a legend of this warrior species' culture, something for us lore fans. Either way, Spyro gets the ability and blazes his way through the threat at hand, bringing him to the next land, which would harbor Autumn Warlock. Now, this ability could be given to Spyro as a measure to defend against the threat before it truly makes its way into this land. Perhaps the Autumn Warlock could be gifted by another user of magic, one finding themselves in the same situation the Sorceress found herself in during Spyro 3. But instead of being a psycho, this one chooses to let Spyro help, after hearing of his deeds across these various lands. So in this case, the Autumn Warlock could be used as a deterrent to help prevent what the other lands found themselves in. Now other than that, that's really going to be it for me. This was mainly just a small, fun little video, mainly based off of some comments I saw, and the desire to follow up on the last video, as I think I could have probably added this in, and probably elaborated on stuff a bit more. But like I said, that's going to be it for me. If you have any ideas, you can leave them down in the comments, and if you want to see any updates on the Lord of the Dragon videos, or even small theories I might post, go ahead and follow me on Twitter. Or, quite simply, you can just stick around the channel to see speculation or lore videos as they come out. But anyway, that's going to be it for me. I hope to see you all in the next lore video. Stay safe, historians.